What's up, everybody? In this video, I'm gonna try to have a little bit of fun making this review. That's not to say I don't have fun in any of my other reviews, but I tend to become a little bit stoic in my review process, and that's no intentional thing, but it's just something that is according to my personality. So I'm just going to work my way through this and add some extra comments compared to some of my other videos and reviews, because this has a little bit of personal history behind it. So let's get started. This is the New King James Center Column Reference Bible, Classic Center Column, from Thomas Nelson. And this is in their Premier Collection, and this is the brown goatskin. So let's go through the exterior features of this Bible really fast. So you have perimeter stitching. This goatskin is actually quite thick, which is something I really like about the Premier Collection, especially in the brown. I've noticed a lot of the browns from videos that I've watched, and the couple that I have, are a little bit stiffer than the black goatskin. And I will compare my other brown one here in a second. You can see the grain. It's not a super deep grain, but it's very pronounced, and it's pretty smooth. It's not bumpy, but it's not a shiny smooth like some of the Schuyler Bibles. You have 5 raised hubs on the spine. They are not tooled, they're just raised. You have Holy Bible, New King James Version, and Thomas Nelson. And then just a plain back. It has red under gold art gilding, brown head and tail bands to match the brown leather cover. And then you have 3 ribbons, 3/8 inch double satin, nice and long, and they are angle cut. Then the interior is edge lined with I'm assuming this is a calfskin liner. I don't know. I've never actually asked, which I should, but this is the interior leather, and there's a gold perimeter gilt line around the liner. And you can see here, this is one thing about more mass-produced premium Bibles, or any Bible in general actually, but it's not going to be perfect. You're never going to have a perfect Bible. Even if it's handmade, it's not going to be perfect. But you can see some of the little tiny things, like the corners here on the leather cover part, on the fold over, is not clean. It's not exact. The line doesn't go all the way to the edge all the way around, but that's a very minor feature in a Bible. So it's not a big deal. You have goatskin leather cover stamped on the front, and then the ISBN stamped on the back. So that is the exterior of this Bible. Really quick, I wanted to compare. I have the single column reference in the Premier Collection. This is also a New King James, and I have done a full review on this one that I will link in the description. But this is also the same leather. This one's actually a bit thinner, so you can see it's a little bit more pliable. This one, even though it's bigger, is stiffer. But the leathers themselves are practically the same. There's a slight different hue and color, but the grain's basically identical. And I really like this Bible too, so definitely check out that review. The trim size on this Bible is 9 1/8 inches tall by 6 1/4 inches wide by 1 5/16 inches thick. So it is on the larger end of the Bibles, and my camera is not a wide enough angle to really hold this in a nice position, but at an angle here you can kind of see with me holding it, it is a hefty Bible, but it's not super thick. So it's on the larger end, but it is very manageable. So let's go into the beginning. So you have a single piece with your end sheet and your tab. It goes right into the presentation page. A classic feature of Thomas Nelson Bibles is there's really only one presentation page on most of their Bibles. They don't have family records or anything like that. I know some people dislike that. They like to have the family records, but it is what it is. The Holy Bible, and so you have one page of cardstock, then Bible paper, and your table of contents. So this Bible has been out for a while, and that will kind of play into my history of this Bible in that this one's been produced since 2019. So this has been around for quite a few years now. And this one is a China printed edition, but the typesetting is by 2K Denmark. Table of contents and the preface. So the reason that it's important to note that this has been around for a while is that I haven't had it for that long. I got this Bible a couple weeks ago, and the reason why is this right here. You'll notice that this is the Center Column Reference Bible, obviously from the description, but this reason right here is why I've not purchased this Bible before. And if you've watched any of my reviews, especially of reference Bibles, on almost every single one, I've commented that center column reference are not really my thing, and I don't really like them. You might have noticed that's changed a little bit in the last couple reviews I've done with the single column, center column references, but still they haven't been really on my radar as something I actually like until now. So let's look at this a little bit more. The books have a brief introduction, which is really nice. This is just a really clean look. And there's the red accents. They divide the book introduction from the text with a little design here. The subject headings are in red, and chapter and verse numbers are in red. And the corresponding, so the verse that's being referenced, so chapter 1, verse 2, is marked in red in the cross references. So it's super easy to find your place. The cross references are all black, but the verse being referenced is red. And something that I did notice in this is that the cross references and textual footnotes are intermingled, so they're all blended together. There's no separation between the two. But as is typical with most reference Bibles, cross references have letters, textual footnotes have numbers. So still has the general rules of referencing, but they're just all blended together. This one does have overcast stitching, which in this copy is on page 6. I don't know if it's always that way. And something I do appreciate is when the overcast stitching is lower on the page, because it keeps this opening a little bit flatter, but you can see it's not too bad. But when they come really far out, then it sticks this page up really high. And here is something classic with the Premier collections, that just look how floppy this is. At Genesis 1, it is staying open. Now obviously this is wanting to stick up a little bit, but I don't have to push very hard to push it down. So they just make a really floppy Bible right out of the box. I haven't used this too much. So great on Thomas Nelson's part with the publishing. So let's move to a more central portion here, so you can kind of see what's going on. So the text is a 10-point comfort print from the New King James. It's obviously their special typesetting for this translation. Every translation that Thomas Nelson and Zondervan does has a unique typeface. The New King James is honestly one of my favorites. I really like the flow of the font. The paper is a 36 GSM Premium European Bible paper. It's really easy to turn. It's a nice white, and with the red and black accents, it just pops off the page, but it's not so bold that it's glaring in your eyes. And that's another thing about this one that really turned my attention to it. And if you recall, and I don't expect very many people to, because, you know, it is what it is. Not everybody watches my videos, so really quick, I'm going to bring this guy in. I reviewed this last year, I believe. It's been a while since I reviewed it. But this is the leather soft edition of this exact Bible. And you will recall, if you watched that video, that I did commend it very highly and say that this was actually a design, even though I didn't like center column reference at the time, that I actually enjoyed looking at. And the reason was it was just so open. Now, if you did watch that video, there's going to be something here that's a little bit different, and that is that I added blue art gilding to the silver, so it matched all of this. So this blue is not going to come on this Bible if you purchase it. But you can see here, I just love how open this Bible is, and that's something that really after a while changed my mind. So something that's different between these two, and I'm not sure if this is normal, is that the paper's different, and it's only a little bit, but this one is a little bit more of an eggshell white, and this is more of a bright white. I think they're technically supposed to be the same, but they're not. So I actually like this paper better in the Leathersoft edition. And you can kind of see there, it's hard to tell with this light, but it is a different paper. So this Bible, which I will link also in the description, is a great non-premium, cheaper option to get. Obviously, it won't have the blue art gilding, but you could get the genuine leather, which has blue page dye. So getting back to this one, the New Testament, so let's actually go to a poetic setting. As with most 2-column Bibles, poetic setting is pretty standard, nothing too out of the ordinary. Paragraphs on the entire Bible are indicated by bolded verse numbers, so it's kind of hard to tell. Okay, here you go. There's one right there. There's one right there. And I prefer the verse numbers being bold in verse by verse instead of pilcrows. I think it's just cleaner having the bold verse numbers. So something about the single column or center column reference, is that I've always known that it's easier in some cases to find your cross references. That was all theoretical in my mind until I actually started using it. And those of you who've used this layout for a long time will probably be laughing at me. But it's really nice because the upper hand in the column of references pertains to the left-hand column, and the right-hand column is referenced in the lower half of the references. And so basically, the references serve as the text in miniature. So it's actually very quick and easy to find your references because say you're like on the middle of the page here, Psalm 95, verse 7, so you know it's going to be in the middle of the references here. So there you go. And yes, I know some people are going to be laughing, but I just started to actually realize that after a while, and when I started using it, it made a lot more sense. So that was one reason that I started liking this layout better. And I'll get into the reasons why I didn't in a little bit. So the New Testament in this one is a red letter. And I know I've mentioned this several times before. I'm not really a red letter guy, but give me a good red letter and I'm not going to complain. This one's not perfect. You can see here, this is a little bit darker than that. It does vary a little bit throughout, but overall, it's not too noticeable, and so you're really not going to have much to complain about in the red letter. There is a 164-page concordance at the back at the end of Revelation, and it's a 3-column. The central letter that's being referenced is in red, but all the references and words are in black, though the citation of the word in question is bold. It's a fairly hefty concordance. I wish it was more of an annotated or like some of the other ones are more of an index / concordance, and I kind of like those a little bit more because they offer a little bit more information in terms of actually studying. But this is just a reference Bible, so it's not a major thing to have just a concordance. This one does have some bent pages here in the back. I did get this Bible not used, but as an overstock copy from a secondhand dealer, so this is not a perfect edition. You can see that the gilding's kind of beat up, but I did get it for a good deal, so I'm not complaining. There's a note regarding the type at the end of the Bible, so it's a 2K Denmark typesetting, and then there's 8 Bible maps on semi-gloss paper. It's not super thick. And then you have your end sheet. So there is the overview of the Bible itself, and I wanted to give a quick overview of my progression of thought in terms of this layout. It's obviously a personal journey, but it's one that I'm sure some people have related to or had themselves even. So the initial hurdle that I had to overcome in liking this layout was the design features. Now this is an older New King James Ultrathin reference, and it's from the 80s or 90s. I found it at a thrift store. But this will give you an example of kind of the reason that really turned me off at the beginning, and still does with this design. And that's the lines. I know this is going to be disagreeable to many who have used this layout for years, but the lines really turn me off. And I'm not sure why, but it just looks way too busy for me. And maybe someday I'll change my mind on that as well. But as of this video, that's still something that I don't like. And actually, what's really kept me from buying a Bible such as an Allen, a classic reader, because they have the lines, and I'm not really wanting to spend $300 on a Bible that I'm not really going to find useful and enjoy using. So that's kind of what deterred me, and I just kind of thought all center column references were not that nice after really seeing the older versions of this layout. So that is kind of the main reason I didn't like them. Then I had this review, which is the New American Standard Large Print Ultrathin from the Lockman Foundation. And again, I will link this video in the description. But I reviewed this one, and I said in it that I had surprisingly used this one more than I thought I would. And this one is more narrow. There's not as much space between the text and the references. It is not justified columns, but it's very open and a little bit more freeing to the mind's eye, at least for me, than the editions with lines. And this one is different from the New King James. They also put the textual footnotes on the bottom, so they separated those, which I like that feature a lot. But I started using this Bible a little bit. I left it on my desk. I started referencing it and really liked it. And that actually surprised me a lot. This one uses pilcrows for the paragraphs in the poetic sayings. But this was the Bible that really got me thinking, well, maybe I don't hate them as much as I thought I did. And I use hate lightly there. And then, of course, obviously, I reviewed this guy and was like, okay, this is a design I really like, and I could grow to actually probably use. So enter the classic center column reference Premier Collection in the brown. And this is really where it came to. I just wanted to have a copy of this that I could actually use and not abuse, but not worry about falling apart as some of the non-premium Bibles tend to do. So I landed on this guy right here. They do have this in the black goatskin, and this one you can find right now, and this is December of 2023 for those watching later, so prices can vary, but around $100 to $130 depending on where you look. And that is a price range that I would pay for this Bible any day. And that's not because it's a great deal in the sense of this Bible, that's what this Bible goes for, but this Bible is worth, in my mind, much more than that in terms of its quality. So that price bracket is something I think is kind of a deal just on this Bible in general. As you can see, the result of that thinking process was the purchase of this Bible. So yes, I have changed my mind on my views regarding this layout. I did not receive this Bible as a review copy. I purchased it myself, so I am not being patronizing in my saying that I highly recommend the Thomas Nelson Premier Collection as well as the Zondervan. They just do a really good job, and obviously I am perfectly willing to purchase Bibles from that on my own money and review them favorably. So I highly recommend the brown. I have a black, and I have actually known a couple people that have some of the black premieres. The black goatskin is a little bit softer most of the time, but I kind of like the rigidity of the brown. And even in this bigger Bible, just holding it with one hand, it stays open, and it opens pretty flat, and that cover keeps it from folding over too much. So brown goatskin is really my favorite right now from this line of Bibles. So thank you for watching, and if you got this far, I hope you enjoyed my little rant on my journey here. But thanks again for all the comments and support, and Merry Christmas.